Joe, as we continue on this path here about talking about teams that are in the playoff and their path to the national championship, if I'm the Oregon Ducks, I'm pretty pissed off, if I'm being honest. You go the entire season undefeated. You run through the Big Ten like a hot knife through butter, and then you get on the side of the bracket where you're having to face tougher opponents and teams than anybody throughout this entire stretch. They may have to play the winner, or they're going to have to play the winner of Ohio State and Tennessee. And then more than likely, they're going to have to play the University of Texas. Don't know if that is fair to the number one overall seed. But when we talk about the Oregon Ducks and their path to a national championship, how do you see this one playing out?
Well, you mentioned how they have such a brutal path. It starts with that first matchup of who they're going to see, if it's going to be Tennessee or Ohio State. And Oregon fans, first of all, I've picked y'all to win a national title. I think that you're going to win it.
Oh!
One of the weaknesses. I said that on the Monday show. I said it's either Oregon or it's going to be Georgia, right? Maybe it was the Sunday show that I said that.
Or now you're picking them to win the whole thing.
I think that they're going to, but one of the weaknesses that we have identified for Oregon has been how they perform against teams that have really dominant run games. They already beat Ohio State, and they did a quality job of handling Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. Henderson ran for 8.7 yards per carry in that game, so not like a totally effective job of neutralizing him, but Quinshon Judkins had 11 for 23, so completely took him out. But as the season has progressed over the last couple of weeks or so, they have had some shaky performances, especially in the Big Ten championship game.
Yes.
When Kotelnicki said, screw it, we're just going to run the damn ball, and Nick Singleton, Katron Allen, and Andrew Aller all had big performances on the ground. It does not help them that their first matchup that they're going to see is against two teams that their offensive success circulates around running the football. Ohio State a little bit less than Tennessee, but Tennessee relies on Dylan Sampson, and how they're going to be prepared to handle Dylan Sampson is going to be super, super important. Now, what helps Oregon in both of these matchups and why I think that they're going to still win is that, one, for Tennessee's sake, their pass protection is mediocre. It's inconsistent. Nico also sometimes holds the ball way too long, and that has led to some pressures. It's led to dysfunction in the passing game and a lot of those problems. And I think that Oregon's defensive backs are a really brutal matchup for that Tennessee receiving core. So they're going to be able to get pressures on Nico and turn the ball over, get those sacks, get the ball back, even if they get early rushing yardage on certain drives. And then the other part of that with Ohio State's so banged up, I think that Oregon's pass rush is going to eat them alive. They had success the first time that they played. Nateu Younglele, Derek Harmon, and Jordan Birch are going to get home against a group that is still reshuffling and figuring out what the heck they're doing. So their D-line, for me, as what I'm saying here, is the key for their success. And before we get to Texas, I think it rolls into Texas as well. That D-line needs to carry them outside of the usual suspects being the driving factor on the offensive side of the ball.
Oregon fans need to be massive Ohio State fans this week.
Yeah.
Tennessee is the worst of the two teams. Tennessee is a worse matchup for them. Brother, look, this is how I want to say it. We got ridiculed by Oregon fans for I'll just say it, for halfway through the year. And you were warned on this show that your D-line was leaking in the run game. Joe, Tennessee is a more physical offensive line at the line of scrimmage than Penn State is. What they do in the running game with Sampson, it's a clinic. Now, you are right. They have had moments in times with young offensive linemen that they've been lost at times in more so blitz pickups, but they have been lost in moments. If they need to line up on 3rd and 2 and run the ball on you, Oregon's in trouble. So if I'm an Oregon Duck fan and my path to the national championship, I'm putting on a big red shirt and saying, let's go Buckeyes. Let's go, baby. Let's go get the matchup. Because I promise you, as God is my witness, you face Tennessee in round 2 and you're gonna get got. I promise you. It is the worst matchup that you can face because they are more physical at the line of scrimmage than Penn State is. I promise you. And here's the thing, Joe. They'll milk that clock, and they'll milk that clock, and they'll milk that clock. And I got to be real with you. That defense for Tennessee is not a joke. I don't know if Tennessee gets out of the first round, though. So I say all that. It's going to be tongue-in-cheek. I don't even know if they get out of the first round. Here's the problem, or here's the thing that I think about Oregon. You're right. Offensively, Joe, I think that they're peaking. I think that they are there. The things that they're doing from a quarterback perspective, going along with their running game, what they have at their receiver core. Look, man, I don't want to call them the best offense in the country. I'm having a hard time not thinking that they are. Here's why. They don't turn over the ball a lot. They can run the ball when they need to. And here's what I don't think people fully grasp yet. People look at like Miami and say, no, Miami is the best offense in the country. No, they're not, because they're hit or miss in so many key situations. When I need to play and you run an inverted veer with Dylan Gabriel to end the game, I got full faith that he is the best. How do I want to say this? I think Dylan Gabriel might be the best quarterback in this playoff. I really believe.
No doubt. No doubt.
Well, some people
he's not the most gifted, but he is. I'm talking about like physically gifted. Like Nico is the most physically gifted.
Alar,
right. Okay. That's not a hot take because Dylan Gabriel's 5'9" and his arm's not as big. But what you're saying, Dylan Gabriel? He's like 5'8", 5'9". He's a little.
No,
dude.
He's not. No, he's not.
He's a little dude. I'm gonna look that up in a second. But
you got the whole Big Ten getting messed up by a dude that's 5'8".
But that's what I'm saying, though. Here,
he's 5'11". He ain't no 5'8".
He's listed at 5'11" on the website, but there is no shot that he's 5. Look. Hey, I was listed at to paint the picture here. I was listed at 6 foot on the Rhode Island Rams.
I've been
I'm 5'10" and 3/4. So there's that inch and a half. Okay, forget talking about his height though. But you're right. Dylan Gabriel is the most established and the most consistent and the best decision maker, and that ultimately I think is definitely their biggest edge.
Well, and here's the thing. The path, Joe, I got to be real with you. Outside of them facing Tennessee, they match up with Texas well. The only thing with Texas is if they were to face Texas, Oregon's biggest weakness is also Texas's biggest weakness too, right? Mm-hmm. Meaning like they're not able to stop the run consistently enough, and then Texas can't run the football. And if Texas does get there and they're able to run the football, that's a big deal. So when I look at Oregon, you have a massive problem, though, defensively. You do. Like, I'm done. I am done sticking up for the fact that when I come on here and I say, in the interior of your defensive line, you're getting pushed around. Let's look at these teams that can run the football effectively. Boise State and Penn State are the two best that you saw, and they pushed you around. That's not an opinion. It's a fact. Oh, well, it's Ashton Genty or it's this guy or it's that. Penn State lined up and pushed you around along the offensive line. That's a stone cold fact here. The three teams that you face, Ohio State is the best or the worst at not being able right now to establish and run the football. So I think offensively, they got to be carried by themselves offensively. They are the most dangerous team in this playoff bracket. I just think that they have a glaring weakness, and they're going to have to correct it. But, man, I'm just not going against them in this. I'm with you. I told you I think that Oregon's going to make it to the national title game. I think that they're going to find ways offensively to overcome in all this, and I think they're going to play for a title against Georgia.
Yeah. No, they have a difficult opening path, but there are ways for them to win.
I can make the argument it's the toughest opening path.
No, it absolutely is. And I look ahead to just talk about Texas and Georgia. I think that Oregon's offensive line also sets them up to succeed in slowing down a very productive pass rush for Texas. And then on the flip side of that, as I alluded to a second ago, Oregon's defensive line, and I don't know what the deal is with Kelvin Banks, but Oregon's defensive line is positioned to have a really good game against Quinn Ewers and getting after him. That is ultimately their key to success. Johnny Cornelius and Josh Connerly protecting against Colin Simmons and company is also very key in that. And I think if I were to pick between Oregon and Georgia, I have to go with Oregon winning that matchup. I think that they have that slight offensive momentum edge that if they stepped into that game, that they could open the game hot and try to win that way.
I got to be real with you. I think that Georgia's such a bad matchup with them because if Joe, they're getting healthy and they're able to run the football against a D-line that's been really good. And look, man, let's call it what it is. It's a very, very bad matchup for them. I'm picking Georgia to win the national title here. I picked them in the preseason. I'm not going away from them. I think they're going to win it. I just think, look, man, if you're going to give Georgia a running game, you're in trouble.
Right.
You're in trouble. So we'll see. All right.
BetOnline remains your top spot for all of your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to BetOnline today and use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for 50% off your first deposit. That is a 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline, where the game starts.